Hello, you lovely people. Back again to continue where we left off. And we're doing the style for this suit. It's a top and a skirt. We've already done the back and the front, and we're now going to create the style features over the shoulders, front and back. So here we go. We're going to be starting to do that, and all we do is have a sheet of paper, new sheet of paper there, and after we've done that, we're just going to go straight into the sleeve. So what I've done here is new sheet of paper. Always have a paper, whatever paper you use, spot and cross, plain paper, brown paper, whatever paper. I'm going to start off with a piece of paper, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to fold a fold edge of the paper to work on the fold. So a sheet of paper, and I'm folding it here. I'm going to crease it because I want to work from the fold edge, that section here. So what I have to do is to decide on how wide I want those pieces to be, those features along here, and then I have to create it on my paper and how long I want it to be. As you see, it's just above the waist, and I've got to measure from the shoulder down, the same thing on the back, and create the length. So that's what I'm going to do now. So I'm going to work from the fold edge. I'm going to measure out the width. In this case, I'm going to use 2 inches for my width from the seam outwards. So it depends on you how wide you want to go out, but I'm only going to use 2 inches width for the wider one and 1 inch for the narrower one. So what I do is I measure out from the fold edge 2 inches, the width that I want, like that. Make sure it's squared out, and I'm going to put a line, and I'm going to square the line out, draw the line, and I'm going to measure down half the length of what I want, the back and the front, and I'm going to measure that. Whatever that is, I'm going to apply it from that point out. I'm going to put a mark, and I'm going to go down, and then I'm going to put a mark, and once again I'm going to square the line out to that mark like that, and I'm going to measure my 2 inches from at the bottom here, and 2 inches from that mark here. This mark here, I'm going to say that's my shoulder, and I'm going to connect up the lines like that, right all the way up to the top. So I'm creating what is a rectangle on my paper, if you can see. So that's the length of the style features that I'm going to be creating on there. So once I've got that, I'm going to measure half that measurement, which is 1 inch, because that is 2, but it depends on what measurement you're using. And I'm going to put a mark, and I'm going to also draw another line all the way through to the bottom. So I'm getting a line. You just do a faint line at the moment through there, all the way up to the top, like that. So we draw, make sure that the line is straight. We draw a straight rule. So now this is what we've got here on our paper. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to measure up 1 inch from there up, and I'm going to draw a line across 1 inch up, and I draw a line across, square, make sure that line is squared out like that, across, and make sure it's squared out across there as well. So you've got the line going like that across there. So once you've got that line, what we've got 2 sections we've got one section marked out there from the fold edge and one section from there to there. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to copy off this first section and another piece of paper. So I'm just going to color it in so that you can see where we're at and what we're doing. So I'm going to color this bit here in, because this is a section that we want to take off here. And you've got to remember that you've got to put your mark in for your shoulders, where your shoulder is. And then the other section that we're going to mark off is this section here, along here. So we're going to trace off this section here on another sheet of paper. This first section here that we've got here in this color. So I'm going to just cut off some of this paper at this edge so I can do that, so you can see. So I'm also going to fold that paper on the fold edge, because I'm working from the fold edge. And with that piece that I've got here, I'm going to place that on the fold edge of the paper. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to trace off this section here, this first section off onto my new sheet of paper, along here, up to there and across here. And I'm also going to put in my shoulder line. So I'm going to put a mark there, and I'm going to also make an indication so I know which section is my back and which section is my front. So I'm going to put 2 little notches there to tell me that's the back, and 1 there for the front, and this is the shoulders along there. So once I've done that, I'm going to take that away, and I'm just going to connect up the lines. Make sure that is squared out along there. Make sure that this bit is squared out also. Whatever you do, make sure the lines are squared out like that. And then we're going to connect them up like that along the trace line that we've made, and along the trace line that we've made here. We connect those lines up. Just make sure that they're straight. And then once you've got that straightened up, you just put your shoulder notch in. We put the 2 notches that we have at the back so that we know, and 1 at the front. And once we've done that, we're going to add our seam allowance, which is on this end we allow a 1/4, and this end we allow a 1/4, because that's the amount we need. We don't need too much seam allowance on the ends, but on this side we need 1 centimeter, because that side is going to be stitched into the seam. So you have to have the same amount of seam allowance that you've got on your seam on your bodies. So that is what is called the top piece of our style feature that we're doing. So once we've got that, we're just going to cut that shape out as it is on the fold, because that's the fold edge. So if we do like this, once we got that, we cut out the piece. This is the first pattern piece for the style features that we've got. And these, whenever you do these pieces, you can do it all in the same fabric, or you can be creative and use them as contrast. So if you have a printed fabric, you could cut these pieces in plain, so your garment will stand out quite a lot. So once you've got that, you open out your piece, and we're going to put a grain line in the center where we've got that fold, where we folded it. So we can call that line the grain line on there. So we mark it on. So this side we've got shoulder notch there, shoulder notch on that, because we're going to cut out that piece as it is. So I'm going to write on there, we're going to cut 1 of these. We're going to cut 2 of these because you want 2 bits. So we're going to cut 2, and this is the top. Okay, right top on it so that you know exactly what piece that is. So that is the top. So that is your pattern piece for the top piece. And for the bottom piece, the underneath piece, we go back to the draft that we've made, and all we do is we use this piece of pattern. We don't have to make a new one. All we do is just add a seam, your 1/4 inch on the bottom of this. You only need 1/4, and you do the same on the bottom here, 1/4, and then down this bit here that goes into the panel seam, we have 1 centimeter all the way up. So we'll have 1 centimeter going up here like that, and then we'll have the seam on here for the shoulder, 1 to tell you that's the front, and 2 to tell you that that is the back along there. And you make sure that they come through on the other side, because we're going to open this out and we put the notches in on the other bit, so that when you fold them, they all meet together. So once you've got that, you cut that shape out with your 1/4 inch seam along the end there, and then 1 centimeter seam up this side like that. You see, with these pieces that you have, you can make them wider if you want. Just depends on you, the individual, how wide you want them to be, you know, where you want it to finish. So once you've got that, you're going to write on there again. We open out, put the grain line on this center line that we've marked on here like that. That's your grain line. And on the back, this side here, we put the notches in because we've traced them through. That's the shoulder, and that one is to say that is the front. So we've got them on that side. So on this piece, we're going to write cut 2, and this is plus 1 fuse. 2 fuse actually. You want 1 for that side and 1 for the other side. So also on the top one, we didn't write on there, but we have to write cut 2 fuse. Okay, so those are the pattern pieces that we have for the style features that we have created on our dress. So if you fold them in half, this is how they're going to stitch. They're going to go notch to notch, which is the shoulder, over the front, notch to notch there, matches there, and it looks like that when it's put on, and it's 1 inch shorter there, 1 inch shorter on that side as well. So it looks like that. I'll lay that down. So when they're on like this. You bag out the edges, 1/4, bag them out, and then you place the shoulders to shoulders there, and then you stitch them. You can stitch them one at a time. You stitch the first one on, and then you stitch the other one on the top, and then you put your side panels on it, which would go from shoulder here. It goes from there all the way down round to the top of the above the waist, and that's where it sits in. So this is how it goes. I'll just do it from this side so you see it will sit from there, goes round to that notch there, and then it comes up to the shoulder like that, and it fits into there like that. And then you put your other piece onto it, and then when you've joined it out, it will be coming out of your front like that. So it will sit in there and it will come out that side of your side panel. So there we go. That's how we create the side bits. So it comes out like that. If I show you, it sits on there. That's your shoulder, sits on there, on your center front. That's your center front piece. It sits on there, out to there, to above the waist, just there where we want it, and it comes out like that. And then the other piece goes over towards the back, right? So you're getting the gist of it. That's how it goes, right? So that's how it looks like. So once we've got that, all we do now is to do the sleeves. So the sleeve is basically straightforward, no complication. All we do is we use the block, which I've done one earlier. We mark around the block. I'm just going to take that sheet of paper away, and I've marked it out here, marked around the block. Put your grain line on, your balance marking, and then once you've marked around, you take your block, you don't need it anymore, then you apply your seam allowance around your sleeve, centimetre around the head, centimetre down the side, and at the bottom we allow 1.25 inches for your hem. So this is the sleeve, and all you do is cut that out. So that is how we do the sleeve and the style features of the actual jacket. So there we go. So you've got those two pieces, the small one that goes on top and the bigger one that goes underneath. So that completes the top of the bodice, and all we need to do now is to show you how to do the facing, and we'll go back to that when we come back. So I can't make these videos too long.